It's always fun to see the numbers roll in
Hmm.
people. So thank you everyone for joining. Welcome. Happy Friday. The beginning of this week, I feel like flew by extremely quick. And here we are at the end of the week.
Here we are, Friday.
Friday vibes. You're here for a retirement webinar. It's awesome. Yeah, I remember back in the early days of Zoom when they didn't really have the webinar feature and everyone was on camera, and it's nice to be
I'm
able to,
sure people prefer this.
yeah, come and watch, turn it on, drink your coffee.
Yes.
Yeah, as we are getting started, go ahead and drop where you are from in the chat. Just making sure the chat is on. I am in Southern California, Austin, Texas, Seattle, Portland, DC. We're everywhere. I love that.
All over. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this. This is awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining. Yeah, this is so cool. And just before we get started here, I want to encourage you guys to drop any questions you have during this presentation in the chat. We will save time at the end for some Q&A. So if things come up, drop them in the chat. I believe you can also actually vote for different questions. So if someone asks something that you're like, I I don't know that answer either, then go ahead and vote for those. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I'm Brittany. If you're unfamiliar, I work at Herd in the brand marketing department, and I host a lot of our webinars with partners. I'm curious if people have joined webinars with Herd before. Go ahead and drop that in the chat as well. And here we have a special guest, Alana Macy. She is a wealth advisor at Bloom Wealth Advisors in Colorado, and we're so excited to have her here to talk about saving for retirement as a therapist. We get a lot of questions about retirement, so we're happy to have an official expert here to talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and go off video, but I will still be here to help in the chat if anything comes up. This is recorded, so we will send you a recording of this after if you would like to rewatch, or if you have to drop off halfway through, you will get that recording. So thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks so much, Brittany, and thank you to Herd for having me. Really excited about this webinar. I heard from Herd that they get so many questions about saving for retirement, and I have been doing this webinar for a couple years now. It's typically saving for retirement as a small business owner, and I've tailored it a little bit to you specifically, therapists. So we're going to learn a lot today. Again, my name is Alana Macy. I'm a certified financial planner and wealth advisor at Bloom Wealth Advisors. We are located in Boulder, Colorado, but we work with people all over the country. We are women owned and operated, which is fun, and it's pretty unique in our industry that's very male dominated. And I've been doing this for over a decade, and I actually specialize in retirement planning. So you are in the right spot today. And again, yes, if you have questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'll get through it probably at the end, unless if there's some clarifying questions throughout. So this is our agenda for today. We're going to talk about challenges of small business owners. I know maybe not everyone on this webinar is a small business owner, but I'm sure a lot of you are as a therapist. And so we'll talk about some of the unique challenges that you may face running your own business. We'll also talk about planning for the future. I'm going to give some tips about how to find balance between spending now and saving for the future so that hopefully someday work can become optional for you, or we also call that retirement. Then I'm also going to talk about the benefits of a retirement plan and why you should seriously consider putting a retirement plan into place if you don't already have one. And then I'll talk about all the different types of retirement plans that would work specifically for therapists. There's a lot of retirement plans out there. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I've kind of cherry picked the ones that I think work best for therapists. And then, like I said, we'll save some room at the end for a Q&A. So we will just go ahead and get started with the challenges that small business owners face. And there's three that I know there's tons of challenges as a small business owner, but there's three that stick out to me a lot from a financial perspective. And the first one I like to call the business owner's saving conundrum. And this is really common as you as a business owner, you need your company to grow. This is your baby. You need to put money into it. You need to put work into it. And so what we often see is small business owners are reinvesting into their business rather than focusing on building wealth outside of their business. At the beginning of getting your business up and running, this makes perfect sense. You have to be putting money back into your business in order to get it up and running. But at some point, hopefully you have some extra cash flow to be building some net worth outside of your business, like in a retirement plan. I also like to say is, for example, you wouldn't invest all of your money into one stock, would you? I sure hope not. And so remember, diversification is key. Same thing, you wouldn't invest all your money into one stock. You shouldn't invest all of your money into just your business as well. So today I'm going to talk about some tips about how we can be investing outside of your business by utilizing a retirement plan. The other challenge that I see a lot of small business owners face is liquidity issues. And this is a generalization, but I see it all the time, is that small business owners lack liquidity in emergency funds, cash, and investment accounts. And again, this goes back to the business owner saving conundrum, because so often whenever you have a little extra cash, you're putting it back into the business, maybe getting more education or getting more licenses or doing more marketing to get your business up and running. And at some point, we need to be building up liquidity elsewhere. So the big solution is to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses in cash in a emergency fund. I typically recommend emergency funds should be in a high yield savings account. So not in your checking account, not in your bank savings account, because most bank savings accounts are paying 0.01%, where a high yield savings account would pay anywhere between 4 and 5% right now because of interest rates, although those do fluctuate. And then general rule of thumb too, as a business owner, is you should have an emergency fund for your business and for yourself personally. So this is something to work towards, is think about what is your expenses for 3 to 6 months. And I'm talking about necessary required expenses. It might be your rent or your mortgage or your health insurance costs or your car payments, things that are absolutely required. It's not going out to dinner or buying clothes. It's the necessary expenses in 3 to 6 months is a general rule of thumb. And then the last challenge I'm going to talk about that really plays into why you are all here today is, as a small business owner, you have to choose the right retirement plan. If you just worked at a corporation, you probably have a 401k. You don't really have to think about the retirement plan. You just start parking money into it from every paycheck. But you, as a small business owner, have to pick a retirement plan, and you have to actually monitor it and make sure you have the right one. And these are some statistics about small business owners, is that 34% of small business owners do not have a retirement plan in place. And 37% of small business owners report that they lack the profits to save for retirement. This one is also really common as you're trying to get a business up and running. Maybe you used to have a job that had a 401k, and 21% of small business owners have actually used their previous retirement savings to invest into their business. I don't know how many people on here have employees, but if you happen to have employees or want them in the future, 48% of departing employees said a lack of retirement benefits influenced their decision to leave. So a retirement plan is really important for a couple reasons. One, to save for your future. Two, to save in taxes, to build wealth outside your business. And if you have employees, to keep employees, because nowadays it's not just about the salary, it's about the full benefit package. So you're in the right place. We're going to talk all about retirement plans today, and I'll highlight all the different types of plans. But before we get into actually talking about what type of retirement plans, we have to be planning for the future and saving for the future. So there's a few things I want to highlight first. And to have a plan for the future, you need to actually think about what you want in life. What do you want your business to do? What do you want how do you want your personal life to be? So I'm sure when you work with your clients, you're talking about planning for the future. You're talking about steps that they could be taking to better their lives. And so often we don't do this for ourselves. We need to sit down and plan for the future. Do some goal setting. What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? Because I really believe that if you have goals in place, you're more likely to take the steps to achieve those goals. So the best thing you can do is have some type of written plan in place, a goal plan in place. And I'm going to share with you an exercise that I have personally done twice, and it is unbelievably beneficial to plan for the future, and it's called the blueprinting exercise. This is a big exercise, I will say. It's 35 pages. It takes a while. I've done it twice over 3 years apart because my goals drastically changed within those 3 years. And these are some things that you can do is identify what you value most. Find your meaningful purpose. Create a compelling vision for your future. Develop a personal and professional mission statement. And then my favorite part is setting short-term and long-term goals. You, as a small business owner, are in a unique situation because oftentimes your personal life and your professional life blend together. So it's really important to be planning for both sides of it. So I just wanted to highlight this wonderful exercise that I have. You all, I'm sure all your phones are sitting on your desk right in front of you. Take out your phone, highlight this QR code, and you can download my blueprinting exercise for free, completely complimentary, and it helps you really put a plan in place for your short-term and long-term goals. Like I said, it is a 35-page document. It's not something you just do in an afternoon. So take the time to commit to your future and to your future plan. Because if you have an idea of what you're saving for and what you're working for, you're going to be more likely to be willing to make changes in your life to be able to achieve those goals. And when we talk about having a retirement plan, we are talking about investing. And we're also talking about having extra money to put aside. So I first just have to start, and this is a little basic. Some people might know this, some people might not, but there's a difference between saving and investing. Saving is about setting extra money aside that you make. So it's whatever you make above your expenses. And then investing is about putting this money to work for you. Before you learn to invest, you need to learn to save. If you have a bunch of credit card debt, if you are not living within your means, you're not in a place to be investing yet. But if you get to a place where you can lower your expenses or increase your income and you have extra money to be saving and you've started by building an emergency fund, now is the time to start investing. And I am going to show this chart. This is a consumption smoothing chart. I show this in almost all the webinars I do when we're talking about saving, because I think it's really eye-opening as far as what can you be saving. And I'm going to explain this chart to you. This green line is your income curve. Most people reach peak income earnings between 40s, 50s, early 60s. You can see when you're young, you're not making a lot of money, you're in college, you're in high school. Here you're in the workforce, hopefully you're making more money, and then at some point you reach retirement. I prefer to call it when work becomes optional for you. And pretty much everyone I know wants work to become optional for them at some point. Even if you love what you do and you say you want to work forever, most people still want work to become optional for them. The most important thing in this chart is this consumption line. It's really normal and natural that as you make more money, your consumption or your spending keeps going up. But then you have less money to save because the savings is right here in between the consumption line and the income curve. This is the opportunity you have to save and hopefully then invest. So if you don't have extra right here between the income curve and the consumption curve, you will need to do some things to make some changes. So again, once you learn to save, you need to learn to invest. But the first step is learning how to save. And then I'm just going to give some general knowledge about what I would call the magic of compounding. Again, everybody on this call is from different backgrounds, different financial backgrounds. Some people might know this, some people may not, but it's still a really cool explanation is the power of compounding. And let me give you an example. Let's say you start investing $12,000 in 2024. So maybe you leave this call and you are motivated, you are ready to start investing. So you open up a retirement account, you start investing $1,000 a month. Let's assume the market grows by 8%. Well, at the end of this year, you'll have $12,960, which is a $960 increase in year one. Now, 2025. Same thing, 8% increase. But now you're not starting with $12,000. Now you're starting with $12,960. So now your increase is $1,036 from year one, an additional $76. That $76 is your money working for you. Let's say you do this for 10 years, putting $12,000 in or $1,000 a month. In 10 years, you would have $182,946. But you've actually only invested $120,000. That's $62,000 in growth over 10 years that you weren't really doing anything. It was the market was working for you and your money was working for you. Let's say you stop adding money after 10 years, but you keep your money in the market and let it grow for you. And if we're still assuming that 8% return, in 20 years, your nest egg has now grown to $852,703. But remember, we only invested $120,000 and your money has grown this much. And that is what we call the magic of compounding. And that's why you have to be investing. If you're just saving, you are going to be losing money every year because of inflation if it's just sitting in your cash checking account or savings account. We need to be investing for the future. So that will bring us to why we're going to be here today, and we're going to start investing in retirement plans if you haven't already, or continue investing in retirement plans if you have, because of the magic of compounding is getting your money working for you. But the number one reason that Americans can't save for retirement is they don't make enough money over expenses. So if you are not in a place to be saving for retirement yet, here's some things you to do is budgeting, debt management, cutting out unnecessary expenses, just being aware of your spending, and then also finding ways to increase your income. When you want to save more, you have two options. You can spend less or you can save more. You can spend less or you can earn more, or you can do a combination of the two. So is there things that you can do to invest in yourself? Maybe it's more education or licenses to be able to increase your income. Maybe it's putting more money into marketing so that you can get in front of more people. So again, when you're ready to start saving, you need to be doing a few things to make sure that you make more than your necessary expenses. So that brings me to the benefits of retirement plans. And this is where we're going to go really in depth of different types of retirement plans that might be best for your business and for you. So some of the benefits of retirement plans that I want to highlight is one, like I said, the business owner saving conundrum. By having a retirement plan, you have the ability to build your net worth outside of your business. Two, this is the biggest one for small business owners, is tax savings. Most retirement plans allow you to save money on taxes now. So instead of paying the IRS money, you can be paying your future self is by investing into your retirement plan. Diversification, again, instead of investing 100% into your business, now you get to diversify and invest in other businesses and in other industries through the stock market in your retirement plan. If you have employees, again, this is a big benefit to your employees, is to be able to retain them and reward them. And then I think the most important one is actually being able to achieve retirement. We cannot be counting on Social Security to be covering our entire lifestyle. No, barely anyone's Social Security is going to cover their entire lifestyle, especially Social Security is not growing at a fast enough rate to keep up with inflation. So if you want work to become optional for you, it's your responsibility to be saving for the future. So here's some just retirement plan basics. An employer retirement plan basics is one thing. When you put money in, you get tax deferred growth on the majority of retirement plans. So you put money in pre-tax, and you do not pay taxes on the contributions now. And then the account will grow tax-free as you're investing over time. So maybe you're 35 and you're retiring at 65, you get to put money in for 30 years without paying any taxes. And then when you retire and you actually go withdraw money from your accounts, you are then taxed at ordinary income for every dollar you take out. So it's a great way to save in taxes now and then have the tax-free growth until you take the money out later. So a couple things to know is that as the employer, you get a tax deduction for money that you put in. And if the employee puts money in, they also get a tax deduction. Something really important to know is that you as the small business owner are an employer and an employee. So with some plans, you can actually put money in as an employer and as an employee. So you kind of are the twofold of it. Another benefit of employer retirement plans is they're protected from employers' creditors and employees' creditors. And then this bullet point allows annual investment earnings to be reinvested without taxes. This is saying the same thing, tax deferred growth. So your accounts are growing without paying taxes on them. You do pay taxes later when you withdraw the money, but it's not tax. Medicare and Social Security isn't taxed, so it's not going to be taxed quite as much as your paychecks. And you have to think about, will you have higher income now or will you have higher income later in retirement? It's hard to know that now. It's a question I can't really answer unless if I know your situation, but that's something that people ask me a lot. But the biggest thing is, as a small business owner, oftentimes people want some tax savings now. So it's a really great way to save in taxes. So now let's talk about the different types of retirement plans out there. There's a lot of retirement plans out there. I am not highlighting all of them. I'm highlighting the ones that make the most sense for therapists and for people on this call. So if there is questions about them too, feel free to mark it in the chat too. I know that these can be complicated, and I'm going to do my best to make it as simple as possible for you. So these are the types of retirement plans that I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to highlight 4 different employer plans, and then we'll also talk about personal plans that aren't actually tied to your business, but they are ways to be saving for retirement. So we'll talk about a SEP IRA, a solo 401k, a simple IRA, and then also a 401k, which I'd say is the most common one that most people know of. And so let's first start with a SEP IRA. So a SEP IRA stands for a simplified employment pension. I would say this is the most common type of account I have seen for therapists. So that's why I'm starting with it. This is a really easy plan to set up. It has limited ongoing filing requirements. It's just a really simple plan to have. It's called the SEP IRA. Couple things to know about this is you as the employer contribute to this plan. Employees do not contribute to this plan. Just the employer contributes. And then the employee is 100% vested, which means 100% of their money is theirs to keep even if they quit the next day, if you put money into it. And contributions to each employee's SEP cannot exceed the lesser of either 25% in compensation or $69,000. The wonderful thing about a SEP IRA is that you can contribute to it by April 15th or October 15th if you file an extension of the following year. So I want everybody to listen up right now as you are doing your taxes. Is if you find that you have a pretty big tax hit for 2023 and you haven't done a SEP IRA contribution, it's not too late. You have until April 15th of this year or October 15th of this year if you file an extension to actually open up a SEP IRA in 2023 and put money into it for 2023 to save taxes. So one thing to think about, if you are doing your taxes, you have a big tax bill. What if you could park some money into the SEP IRA, lower your tax bill, save more for your future? We like to call this the procrastinator's plan because, again, you don't have to do it until at least April 15th the next year. But a SEP IRA is one of the simplest plans out there. A couple things to know, though, is if you have employees, it's not typically the best plan for you. If you have employees who have worked for you out of 3 of the last 5 years and have made at least $750, they would be eligible for the SEP. So I give this example a lot, but this is not a good plan if you have seasonal employees. So if you are a therapist by day and then on the side, you also run a Christmas tree farm and you have seasonal employees, probably not a good plan for those Christmas tree farm owners out there, because anyone who's worked for you for 3 out of the last 5 years and have made at least $750, they're eligible for their plan. I also find a lot of people who have employees don't want to do a SEP IRA because the employee isn't the one contributing, just the employer is contributing. There was a question that says, can I contribute to a SEP IRA if I also contribute to a 401k? No, you'd have to do one or the other. So the next slide, I'm going to be talking about a solo 401k. You either do SEP IRAs or solo 401ks. And so who is the SEP IRA best for? This is an example, a solo practice therapist who's new to saving for retirement and wants simplicity. So this is someone who does not have employees or only your spouse is an employee. Like I said, if you have employees, this isn't typically the best plan. You can still do it, but again, usually the employer doesn't want to be the only person saving for your employee's retirement. You want them to save as well. You want an easy and simple plan to manage and install. Most brokerage firms like Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, those type of places, you can go here and just open up a SEP IRA. It can be super easy. Like I said, you have until April 15th. This is also a really common one. People might open for a year because they were behind, they were a little bit, they procrastinated a little bit last year. They need it for 2023, but then maybe in future years, they'll find a different plan for them. And then I just highlighted this again, not best for companies with seasonal employees. Someone just asked, can you do a SEP if you work 1099 as a contractor? Absolutely. So I'd say SEP IRA is a pretty common plan for the contractors out there. And like I said, this is the easiest plan to maintain. This is the cheapest plan to maintain. It's a really, really great starting point for people who are just starting to save for retirement in an employer plan. I see a lot of people start with this plan and then later on might move to a different plan. So the next one I'll talk about, if there isn't any more, I don't think I see any more questions on, let me see. So what are the downsides of the SEP? Someone just asked. One thing, the biggest downside would be if you have employees. I'll go back to this. If you have employees, like I said, that's a big downside. You contribute to the employee's plan, not them. It's 100% invested for the employee. Another big downside is, if I go back here, you can save up to 25% of your compensation. So think about what your total compensation is, how much you want to be saving. The SEP IRA doesn't actually allow you to save as much as other plans. So some people might want a SEP, might not want a SEP IRA because they actually want to save more to retirement. So someone also just asked, lots of questions. So someone just asked, does it make sense? When does it make sense to switch out of a SEP to a different plan? One thing, if you get employees, it makes sense to switch out, or if you want to save more to retirement. The next one I'm going to talk about is a solo 401k, and that's when it makes a lot of sense to switch from a SEP to a 401k. I will tell you, you can just keep the SEP IRA the same. You can just keep it. You just stop contributing to it, but it's still invested. It's still a SEP IRA. You just then would open a solo 401k, but you can't do both. And someone also just asked, can you create one if you rolled over your prior employer's Roth and traditional IRAs? Yes, these are completely separate. So if you had a prior maybe 401k that you rolled into a traditional IRA or Roth IRA, you can still open up a SEP IRA. They're completely separate. Someone also just asked, if I filed taxes for 2023 but haven't sent in the taxes I owe, would it still be possible to contribute to a SEP for 2023? Yes, but you would have to refile. So it might be a pain for you, but it's something to look at. Has it really been sent in? You would have to refile. And then someone also asked, can you have both SEP IRAs as a business owner and a personal Roth IRA? And yes, you can. Those are separate. You can have a Roth IRA and a SEP IRA. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the solo 401k. So solo 401k is similar to a SEP IRA. It's often for self-employed people, individual owners, including sole proprietors, corporations, partnerships, tax-exempt organizations, and it's for people with no employees. That's why it's called a solo 401k. If you have a spouse who works for you, though, this will work for you and your spouse. But if you have any employees, solo 401k is not the plan for you. Same thing as the SEP, contributions are tax deductible. The benefit of the solo 401k is your employee can put in salary deferrals, and then you as the employer can offer matches and profit sharing contributions. So one thing that's different than the SEP IRA is, as the employee, and remember how I mentioned at the beginning, you as the employer are the employer and the employee. So you on the employee side can put up to $23,000 in for 2024, or if you're over 50, you can do $30,500. And then as the employer, you can also make profit sharing contributions up to 25%. So someone asked me what was the downside of a SEP. If you are looking to park a lot of money away for retirement, oftentimes a solo 401k, you can put more money in than a SEP IRA. So it kind of depends where you are at with your savings. So when you just start saving for retirement and open up an employer plan, I often don't see people start with a solo 401k. You can, there's nothing wrong with it, but I often see people start with a SEP IRA. A couple things to know about the solo 401k. There's a lot more administrative work and cost than the SEP IRA. Remember, I said the SEP IRA is super easy to maintain, super easy for administrative work over time. Whereas solo 401k, you do have some more upfront costs. There's often a opening fee and then also yearly fees going on. And so there is more work to it. So, okay, someone just asked, would we potentially be adding money in from our previous employer's 401k for a solo 401k, or is this different? You could do that, but I wouldn't really recommend it. If you have a previous 401k, you could either keep it where it is, you could roll it over to a rollover IRA, but I probably wouldn't roll it into your new solo 401k, even though that could be an option. And someone said, what is the best plan for sole props? Oftentimes the solo 401k is one of the best plans for sole proprietors. And then who is the 401k best for? So this example I use is a solo practice, well-established therapist who wants to save more for retirement. So maybe she started with a SEP IRA. She's been doing it for the last 5 years. She's in a good phase of life. She's making a lot of money. And she's like, I need to be parking even more money away for retirement. Maybe retiring early is what she's really looking to do after she did that blueprinting guide. And she is like, I need to park more money away for retirement. So maybe she stops contributing to her SEP IRA and opens up a solo 401k. So she's okay. She wants to save more for retirement, and she's okay that there's more administrative maintenance and costs. She wants to save in taxes on the personal and professional side. Remember, the SEP IRA, you don't make contributions as the employee. So your personal tax return, if you file separately, your personal tax return isn't going to be, you're not going to be saving taxes personally. One thing, like I said here, is again, it's really common for employers to start with a SEP IRA and want to save even more for retirement. So then they open up a solo 401k and stop contributing to your SEP IRA. It's okay to have both. And if you just can't contribute to both. So someone said, what are some of the administrative maintenance tasks that one can expect? So there's different forms every single year that you have to file. You also should have what's called a TPA on file, which is a third-party administrator. So it's someone you have to pay to make sure that they are helping with the filing requirements. So it's not something you have to do all on your own, but you are paying for a third-party administrator to help make sure that it is all up to speed. This is called a qualified plan. So it has different requirements than a SEP IRA. So someone said, I am both an employee contributing to a 401k with an employer, but I also have a private practice. Can I create a solo 401k through my practice? And yes, that is true. It would have to be through your consulting income, whatever up to 25% you could do, so you couldn't do the employee contributions, but the employer could. So in your case, a SEP IRA would be best than the solo 401k. So that was for. Yeah, so if you have that, it's a SEP IRA would be best for your consulting income. So someone said, can you technically not pay taxes if you park it over in the SEP IRA? If you really finagle your taxes, yes, there is a potential way you wouldn't have to pay any taxes if you just put money into your SEP IRA. So it kind of depends your tax situation though. Okay. So what is a general range of fees it could cost to maintain this account? The annual fee, and it depends on your third-party administrator that you choose. The annual fee could be as low as $200 up to over $1,000. The startup fee, I've seen them around $500 to $1,000. It depends how large your solo 401k is. So one thing to know when you start it, the fees are pretty small, but once you've been contributing to it a long time, once it's over $250,000, that's typically when the fees are a little bit higher. So you're looking at, could be like $1,000 a year, depending on how much money's in there and what third-party administrator you have. So I'll see if there's any other questions on solo 401ks before I move on. So someone said, I'm currently contributing to my 401k through my payroll software and contribute both as the employee and the employer. If I want to contribute more to my 401k between payrolls, how do I go about that? So if you're already maxing out your 401k as the employee, which is that 23,000 for this year, and then you also hopefully if you do a match, as the employer, and then you could do the profit sharing. Most times profit sharing, you wait until the end of the year to know your total compensation, and then you would do the profit sharing to know what your total compensation is, because you could do up to 25%. So one thing, solo 401k, it is too late to do it for 2023. Someone just asked about that. So that is why the SEP IRA, that's the procrastinator's plan, as I like to call it. I'm not calling you procrastinators. It's a way to save for the previous year. It is too late to do a solo 401k for 2023, but it's not too late to do one for 2024. So compensation would be gross. So some of these questions, they're going to be more personalized. So I can't necessarily answer all of them on here because your situation is going to be personalized. But if you have questions after this, feel free to reach out to me via email, and I'd be happy to answer some questions too. So someone says, can you do a Roth IRA as an employee and a SEP IRA as the employer? Yes, you can do both a Roth IRA and a SEP IRA. Roth IRAs, we'll go into more detail in a second. They are not tied to your company at all. Those are individual retirement plans. So you can do a Roth IRA if you're eligible based on income limits and still do a SEP IRA. Okay. I'm going to move on to simple IRAs. So simple IRAs, these, I will say, these aren't necessarily the best plan for people without employees. These are typically people with employees. So the next two plans are typically for companies with employees. So if you don't have employees, which I'm sure most of you don't, the solo 401k or the SEP IRA is really best. But the simple IRA, it's a savings incentive match plan for employees. This is kind of like a SEP IRA, that it's really easy to maintain. It's pretty cheap, low filing requirements. It allows employees to contribute, which is great. And then employers can also contribute. So there's two ways an employer contribute is you can either do a non-elective matching contribution up to 2%. That means you put 2% in every single employee's plan, regardless of if they put money into it. Or you can do a 3% matching contribution up to a dollar for dollar basis. So if your employees are doing 3%, you would match them 3%. Those are the two options here. I'd say downside of the simple IRA for an employer is any money you put in for the employee is 100% vested to that employee. Again, if they left the next day, it's all theirs. The salary deferral limit for an employee is $16,000 or $3,500 if you're over 50. So it's less than what a 401k is, which I'll go into more detail after that. But a simple IRA, it's a good starting point for a company with employees. It's kind of like the SEP IRA, where I see a lot of companies with employees start with a simple IRA just to get something in place. And then later on, they'll switch to a 401k because they want to be putting more money towards retirement. So simple IRA, who are simple IRAs best for? A small company with less than 100 employees, but typically a company with employees. They want a low-cost plan that is easy to maintain, and they also want to contribute to their employees' future and allow them to make contributions. So again, if you don't have any retirement plan in place, a simple IRA, if you have employees, is a really great place to start. So someone asked, do we have to pay the tax when we are going to use the retirement age of 65? I think what you're asking is how it's taxed. So all these plans I'm talking about is when you take the money out, you are taxed on every dollar you take out at your ordinary income tax rate. You are not immediately taxed once you turn 65. You are only taxed on every dollar you take out. So all these plans, you can't take the money out before 59 and a half, or else you are penalized 10%. But if you once you do take the money out, you are paying ordinary income taxes on it. One thing I do like to remind people is we say retirement is 1/3 of your life. So if you retire at 65, you are not withdrawing your entire retirement account. It needs to last the rest of your life. You're just taking out a small portion of it each year in retirement. And so yes, that will be taxed. If you take out $50,000, it would be taxed as if you had income of $50,000. So I hope that answers your question. So the simple IRAs, again, who are the best for? So it'd be a therapist collaborative with employees on staff. They want to put a retirement plan into place. They, as the employer, probably want to save for their future retirement. They probably want to save in taxes. They also want to help their employees save for the future. And so the simple IRA is a really great place to start. The last employer plan I'll go over is the 401k. I'm sure everyone on this call's heard of a 401k. If you've worked at a past company, it probably had a 401k. I'd say big companies almost always have 401ks, especially if you ever worked in corporate America, there's going to be 401ks out there. So again, there's employee contributions and employer contributions. They typically offer a matching contribution, and the employee can defer up to $23,000. So this is a reason why someone might switch from a simple to a 401k is they want to save more to retirement. Again, when you think about a retirement plan as an employer, you're also thinking about yourself as the employer. How much do you want to save for your own retirement? So like I said here, you can save more than in a simple IRA. 401ks also offer some extra features, like you can allow for Roth contributions. Roth contributions are post-tax, where you pay the taxes now, but then you don't ever pay the taxes again. Also allows for tax deferred, and then will also allow for that matching, that profit sharing contribution as well. So 401ks have some added features, but there is a much higher cost for 401ks, just like the solo 401ks. They're considered qualified plans, so they have a lot more administrative costs. So who are 401ks best for? This is my company. This is us. Like I said, we're women owned, and it'd be for an established company who wants to save a lot for retirement and contribute to their employees' retirement. So again, if you have employees, I don't typically see people starting with a 401k. And if you want to add other benefits to employees like matching or profit sharing, a solo 401k could be a great option. So for those of you out there who are listening, like I said, the two main plans I would say for therapists who don't have employees are going to be the SEP IRA or the solo 401k. SEP IRA is a great place to start. It's not too late to do it for 2023. But if you're listening to this and you were like, wow, I am just not in a place to be putting a company plan into place yet. Maybe you just started your solo practice. Maybe you just aren't ready to do it yet. That's okay. You can always add this in later on. And it's okay if you don't know where your future cash flow is. It just doesn't feel like this is the right time to be dealing something with like this. So in the meantime, make sure you're still contributing to your retirement. So what you can do is utilize a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA, and I'll explain those. Okay, someone just asked, I have two other questions before I move on. I have an individual 401k and an individual Roth 401k with Vanguard. Is this different than a Roth IRA? Yes, good question. A Roth 401k is different than a Roth IRA. So if you have a Roth 401k, it is tied to a company. So you contributed post-tax money to your company 401k, whereas a Roth IRA is not tied to your company at all. You can just go open up a Roth IRA. You can have a Roth IRA and a Roth 401k. Someone asked, is it appropriate to build up emergency savings and pay off debt at the same time? Yes, definitely. I think it's appropriate. It depends what your debt is. If it's credit card debt with 25% interest, it might make more sense to really be parking money into that credit card debt to try to pay it off, because high yield savings accounts are paying about 4% versus 25% credit card debt. If you're talking about car loans or student loan debt, absolutely. I love having a balance between saving into an emergency fund, saving for retirement, paying off debt, kind of putting a few eggs in each basket to try to pay it off. Do you have to go through a broker to engage a SEP IRA? You could honestly just go to some of the online brokerage firms like Fidelity or Vanguard and just go set one up by yourself, and you don't really need to talk to anyone if you don't want to. They can help you there though too if you do need. So no, you don't necessarily need to work with like an actual advisor to open up a SEP IRA. Okay, so we'll talk about the personal retirement plans, Roth and traditional IRA. So a couple things about a Roth IRA, like I mentioned, and the traditional IRA. These are not tied to an employer plan. You can have a 401k through your employer and have a Roth IRA. These are called individual retirement accounts. So I'm going to start with the Roth. The Roth is my favorite investment account out there. I know nobody on this call really knows me, but if you do know me, I talk about Roth IRAs all the time. I absolutely love them because what you do is you contribute post-tax dollars, money that you pay taxes on now, and then it grows tax-free for the rest of your life, and you never pay taxes on it. So I like to say that for retirees, Roth IRAs are a retiree's best friend. The downside of a Roth is your contribution limit is only $7,000 each year for 2024, or over $8,000 if you're over 50. So if we think about saving for retirement, in the grand scheme of things, $7,000 is actually not that much money. So oftentimes I still recommend that you're contributing to an employer plan and a Roth IRA if you're eligible. Like the SEP IRA, though, you have until April 15th to contribute to a Roth IRA for 2023. So if you are looking at your cash and you're like, my cash is built up quite a bit, you could actually open up a Roth IRA and contribute it for 2023. You don't get a tax deduction for this, though, because this is all post-tax money. So it doesn't really matter if you need to save in taxes or not. It won't help you save in taxes now, but you could open it up and do it for 2023. Maybe you have $14,000 laying around. You could do $7,000 this year in 2024. And then actually the 2023 max is $6,500. So you can do $6,500 for 2023 and $7,000 for 2024. Biggest thing to know about Roths is that if you make too much money, you can't contribute to a Roth. So married filing jointly, if you make over $240,000 in taxable income, I'm talking on your personal tax return side. If you married filing jointly make over $240,000, you are not eligible to contribute to a Roth. If you're single and you make over $161,000, you are not eligible to contribute to a Roth. If you were contributing to a Roth and then were no longer eligible, that's okay. You can still keep your Roth. It will keep growing. You can keep it in the market. You just can't contribute to it. I also see people who, there's 2 years that they can't contribute because they make too much money, and then maybe they took 6 months off 1 year, then they can contribute to it again. So another question, changing strategies from tax deferred, wondering, are there fees to roll over a SEP IRA and a traditional IRA into a Roth, or would it be better to leave the SEP IRA as is and stop contributing to it and move forward just with a Roth? So I like both contributing to a SEP IRA and a Roth, because then you'll have tax diversification now and tax diversification in retirement. One thing to know, if you are converting a SEP IRA or a traditional IRA into a Roth, you will pay taxes on the conversion. This is a taxable event. So if you take money from a traditional IRA, convert it into a Roth of $50,000, let's say, you would pay $50,000 and you would pay taxes on that $50,000. Not something you should be doing. You want good tax advice if you're doing Roth conversions. So most likely what you should just do is keep your traditional IRA and SEP IRA as they are, let them grow for the future, and then have your Roth and be contributing to your Roth. If you're married and make under the income, can you contribute? Absolutely. So if you make under 240,000 and you're married, you are eligible. If you make under 161,000 and you are single, you are eligible. It's just if you make over. Is there a contribution limit if you're younger than 50? So no, if you make under this, you can contribute up to 7,000 for 2024 if you're under 50, or up to 8,000 if you're over 50. How is the amount of tax you pay? So this is a good question. Someone asked, how is the amount of tax you pay on a SEP IRA or individual 401k determined when you are ready to retire? The amount you pay in taxes in retirement is all based on your tax bracket. So if you are in the 24% tax bracket when you are in retirement, you would pay 24% taxes on whatever you take out. If you're in the 12% tax bracket, you take out 12%. As you can imagine, this can be hard to assume what your tax bracket will be when you're actually in retirement. We also don't know what the tax brackets will be. Right now, these are the tax brackets, 12%, 24%. You can go look up 2024 tax brackets, but they might be different when you're actually in retirement. So one of the best things you can do in retirement is have diversification between accounts. Have a SEP IRA or a traditional IRA or a 401k. Have a Roth, which is post-tax money. And then also, which I'm not talking about today at all, have a brokerage account. This is an investment account not tied to retirement. It's really helpful to have tax diversification of accounts when you're actually in retirement. Someone said, can you max out different types of retirement accounts, or is there one total regardless of account types? Good question. You can't, if you can't have a SEP IRA and a solo 401k that you're contributing to, but you can have a SEP or a solo 401k and contribute to a Roth. Do you need to find a broker to set up a Roth IRA? No, you can go to a brokerage firm and just go open up a Roth IRA. You don't need an advisor to open up a Roth IRA. What happens if I start a SEP IRA now with no employees, then start hiring in another year or so? Can I change to a simple IRA plan for me and my employees? Yes, absolutely. So you can start with a SEP IRA. Once you get employees, you'd switch over to a simple IRA. Your SEP IRA would actually stay a SEP IRA, stay as is, and then you would just start a simple IRA. Great questions here. Okay, so I'm going to move on to traditional IRA. I know there still might be a few questions, but the traditional IRA is similar to the Roth IRA that's not tied to your employer, but this one is pre-tax dollars, just like the SEP IRA or a 401k. So you get the tax deduction now. Like I said with retirement accounts, distributions when you take it out are taxed as ordinary income. Same contribution limit, $7,000 in 2024 if you're under 50 or $8,000 if you're over 50. Couple of things to know. I'm not going to go into great detail now, but Google this afterwards is to see if you're eligible for a deductible contribution. If you or your spouse are covered under an employer plan, which is like a 401k, there's different rules for you to be able to deduct the contributions you put in an IRA. So you can still contribute to an IRA, but it might not be tax deductible, which kind of defeats the purpose because then you pay taxes on it. So people don't use traditional IRAs as much as Roth IRAs, I would say, but it is another option if you do want a tax deduction and you're eligible for the tax deduction and you want to be putting money away. But again, if you want a tax deduction now, traditional IRA is not going to be the best option for you. A SEP IRA is going to be the best option for you because you can save a whole lot more than $7,000 a year. Okay, so here are some of the key factors when deciding on a plan. What is your age and income? If you are nearing retirement and you are maybe are a little bit behind and want to park a lot of money away, a solo 401k is going to be better than a SEP IRA because you can contribute as the employee and as the employer. So consider what you are making and what your age is. Big thing is, do you have employees or will you in the near future? So someone asked me, what if I have a SEP now and then I get employees later? That's okay. But if you're getting employees in 6 months, I probably wouldn't do a SEP IRA. If you're getting employees in 2 or 3 years, it's fine to do a SEP IRA for a couple years and then decide later. This is my Christmas tree farm example. What type of employees do you have? If you have part-time employees, don't do a SEP IRA. If you have long-time employees, it can kind of, you can decide, do you care if they're 100% vested in the simple IRA, or do you want them to be on a vesting schedule in a or in a 401k? How much do you have to save for retirement each year? So consider this. If you have a lot of money that you want to be parking away for retirement, solo 401k might make more sense as a SEP IRA because you can park away more. If you have employees, how much do you want to reward them? And then last, what's your budget for having a company plan and what's your capacity? Do you have time to be dealing with this, or is a SEP IRA just easier for you to deal with now? And then also, I didn't put this on here, but do you need to save something for 2023? Because your one option is the SEP IRA. So something to think about too. And again, it can change as your business evolves, or if you add on new employees, it can absolutely change. So someone said, what if you can't contribute to employee retirement yet? What would the best retirement plan be for the situation? So unfortunately, if you don't feel like you can add to your employee's retirement plan yet, then you would be looking at either the Roth IRA or the traditional IRA. Because all of these plans, if you have an employer plan, you can't contribute to your as the employee, but not to the other employees. All employees are treated fairly, regardless of you, the employer, are also the employee. So if you are not in the place to be contributing to the employees' plans yet, and you have employees, then the Roth IRA or the traditional IRA would be the best option. So another question, but if you have a traditional IRA and you are a sole proprietor with no plans to add others to practice, are you able to open up another plan? Yes, you can have a traditional IRA and you can open up another plan. Most likely you won't be contributing to the traditional IRA anymore. You'll be contributing to either the SEP IRA or solo 401k. Are there any minimums for what you can contribute to a SEP? Is it better to start contributing something, even if it's not a lot, in addition to a Roth IRA, than to only do an IRA? So there isn't, depending on the brokerage firm you open it up at, typically there is not any minimums to a SEP IRA. And I agree with you. It is better to do something than nothing, even if it's $20 a month. It's better to do something. That's for a SEP IRA. That it wouldn't make sense to do that with a solo 401k because of the yearly fees. You'd want to make sure you're actually contributing enough to offset the yearly fees. But for a SEP IRA, I, yes, recommend doing something. Okay, so again, key factors when deciding on a plan. These are all the things to kind of keep in mind. And then just to summarize, make sure you are saving and investing outside of your business. If you can't do it yet, write that down as one of your goals in the next couple of years is to be saving and investing outside of your business. Have some type of plan in place. You committed to being here for an hour today to be prioritizing your future. So I challenge you after this to commit another couple hours to planning for your future, writing down some goals, short term, long term. Write down some financial goals. Maybe it's contribute $10,000 to my SEP IRA this year. Maybe it's max out my Roth IRA this year. Really use this time today to try to prioritize your future and keep the momentum going. I say this to everyone in the wealth accumulation phase, but it is an art. You have to find balance between spending now and saving for the future. If you want work to be optional for you someday, you have to be saving for your own future. And then have the right retirement plan in place for your business. The ones that I really highlight a lot were the SEP IRA and solo 401k. If you are not ready to put a plan into place yet, consider the Roth IRA or traditional 401k. And then again, here is the QR code to download that blueprinting guide. Take out your phone. This is such a wonderful thing to do. Like I said, I have personally done this, and it really is a great way to be planning for the future. If you have follow-up questions, I'll be answering questions now, but if you have follow-up questions or are looking for more guidance, feel free to send me an email. And then I'm also on Instagram where I share tips and motivating tips about finances. So feel free to go follow me on Instagram at Wealth in Bloom. And just now I'll open it up to the Q&A. Welcome back, Brittany.
I know I'm like secretly in the background here. That was incredible. So much information and so many good questions too. Thank you,
Great
everyone.
questions. Yeah.
So forgive. I'm gonna go through as much Q&A as we can. Maybe
Yeah, I
let's
tried to hit a lot throughout because it was timely.
totally, yeah. Maybe we'll do two questions and see if this was already answered too. Let me know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So can I pick one?
Oh yeah, no, you pick it. That
So
would
one
make
of
more
them is,
sense.
as a solo practitioner, if funds are a little tighter, would you recommend a Roth or a SEP IRA? How do you pick between the two? So part of the question here is your necessary tax savings. If you feel like funds are a little tighter and you are paying a lot in taxes and feel like you need to save in taxes, this SEP IRA will help you save in taxes. If you're not having a tax problem right now, you don't feel like you have to save in taxes, then a Roth IRA is a great place to be parking money away if the tax isn't an issue. And like I said, you're paying taxes now and then you have no taxes later on. So if you don't have a high income right now, the Roth IRA can be a great place to be putting money into instead of the SEP.
Awesome.
Someone also said, I don't have any retirement plan set up yet. Would it be okay if I set up a SEP before a Roth IRA? Absolutely. You don't have to do one over the other.
Perfect. All right. Shall we wrap up here? Do you want to do one more? What do you find?
Yeah, let me choose one more. There's a lot.
The final question. I know there are so many good questions. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, they're so great. Okay, there's so many options. So someone said they were asking about what's the difference between investing for my business and personal. So one thing to think about is everything we're talking about today, even though it's the employer plans are through your business, you are still investing in your name, not through the business. It's still your personal investment account, even though it's tied through the business. So you don't go open up a retirement plan with the plan name of your business. It's still your personal retirement later on. You could be opening up an investment account in the name of your business, but that's not typically as common. Typically what you want to do is, grow your business, get your business, profitable for you and be building up your investment assets in your own name in brokerage accounts, IRAs, SEP IRAs, Roth IRAs. Great questions.
Well, thank you so much for all of this. This is incredible information. And as a reminder, we will be sending out a recording. And if you have any questions, I believe you guys have my email on the registration. And feel free to send anything my way and I'll get you connected.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Really hope you learned a lot today. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you do have more questions or if you're looking for more guidance.
Yes. Thank you. Happy Friday, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.